This form was taught originally to very beginning students in the martial arts. In Okinawan karate, this is the first form that's taught. At Indiana State University, where I teach, this is the first form that I teach my students there. I can do the form backwards, watch my students, and they can see the movements being done as if I were standing in front of a mirror. There's no turns, there's no twisting movements like the basic H forms in most forms. Very simple, direct form. So it's a good one to begin with, a good one to learn with. A little complicated, but it's easily mastered by students when they first start out. A little bit more at speed. This form can be broken down into grappling and striking techniques. Each form has different layers or levels of understanding. You have the first level that's taught in most karate schools, martial arts schools. Block and punch. Somebody attacks me, I block the attack, and then I punch them or kick them. Second level, where we're going to start getting into, is a joint lock or a controlling technique, where you break the person's arm or leg, neck, something, you break a joint. The next level up is each movement can be a knockout. I can knock somebody out with this technique. And the fourth layer, the most dangerous, is that you kill a person with a movement. 400 years ago in the Orient, when somebody practiced this form, they had one purpose and one purpose only in mind, and that was to kill the person that was attacking them. Nothing else entered their mind. They didn't stand out there and try and block and punch somebody, because if you stand there and block and punch and trade punches back and forth, somebody's going to get hurt. Not necessarily me, but not necessarily the other person. In a real fight, you want to end it as quickly as you can with as little amount of chance of you getting hurt. And when they're down, you want them to be dead. That's how they thought 400 years ago. Today, it's the same way, if your life is on the line. That's why I said this is a bit like giving you a gun, because some of the things are very dangerous. What I'd like to start out with is to show you some beginning motions, some of the techniques, what these are and how they're used, some of the applications. Many people, when you talk about karate, this is a salutation. I'm getting ready to start the form. Now the first technique comes out, and I've done a technique. This, right in here, this movement can be a technique that's used in real self-defense. And I'll show you a grappling movement first, and then go on to some striking applications, and just start working out with that. Okay. Chad, I'll borrow you here a second. A lot of fights start with somebody pushing. When they push, I grab their hand. You want to try and bend their little finger back just a touch. And if their arm is out straight, there's a pressure point here that we'll go into in just a second that you would hit and bend the arm. So that you bring that arm in and bend it at a 45-degree angle. The hand comes onto the chest, and I would step across like the form and begin a wrist lock here. Take that out. If I stepped all the way out into the horse stance, like we did, the person goes down. But the kata comes here and down, and then they step. And you have the backhand. If I take that step across and I make use of the backhand, here I can strike across the back of the neck as I pull this hand back here, or just hold it onto the body. There's a pressure point right back here on the back of the neck, right there. This is a dangerous pressure point. If you hit it hard enough, you might cause a person to go blind. You will knock them out with the right angle and direction. The angle and direction would be to strike it in and slightly up. But the form has the hand coming directly out to your side here. So if I'm coming across and down here, and I come across here, I can get a nice buzz off the individual and get them to begin to go out. From behind, this direction, the push, the grab, and the strike makes the person lose their balance a little bit. The other way to do this technique, to make it more into a striking technique from just here, is Mike. If a person's coming in close to you, you make use of this first motion here. If they're in at a fairly close distance and they're giving you a little trouble, you just hit them on those two pressure points right behind the neck, okay, and take them down. I can take the same motion here, hit pressure points in the back of the neck, and knock him out. Just by taking that. Okay? Notice how his legs locked out? See, energy shot right down his legs and out. Little headache.
Got a lot of skin reflex. I sweat. Okay.
Okay? Now this makes it a little more difficult or a little more dangerous in that I hit both sides of the pressure points at the same time. That's not a good idea to do hard. I tapped with my fingertips. I did not hit the person hard. I just slapped Mike very lightly. Because if I hit, Shane, if I hit the pressure points hard, I would cause the person to pass out very deeply, and I don't want to do that because that is dangerous. And there's a pressure point right at the wrist. I'll give you an example. If you're about the same size hand-wise, and you lay your finger right up like this when you're shaking hands, and you feel a pulse on the wrist, that is the pressure point that your finger's on. Right along the edge of the bone, the end of your finger's on a pressure point. If I press on this pressure point in here, he bends that direction, in the direction of the pain. If I press on the opposite side, he bends the opposite direction. If I press both points at the same time, he goes right down the middle. The pain meets in the middle. He decides that's where he wants to go, right down the middle. Okay? This pressure point is designed to hit at a 45-degree angle back and toward you. It'll open the wrist, open the fist. If I strike this at a 45 and pull it in toward me, like that, the hand pops open. This technique, this pressure point can be used in many grappling situations, and it can be used for throwing techniques as in Aikido or Jiu-Jitsu. If the person comes in and grab, you can begin to turn the person under and around and throw them. This point activates the fist, opening and closing it. Okay? When you're grappling or grabbing, you can be grabbing with your thumb on that point. Okay? So if I'm in here, my hand here for this wrist lock, if I come here to take it down, I can also do the same thing by torquing on the wrist and activate that pressure point and help this wrist, the fist, be weak. So if they're in here, I put my knuckle right there, on that pressure point, grab and twist and torque. See how he's beginning to turn with that? And then I turn my body the opposite direction and you take them down really easy. The next motion after this in the form is a strike with the elbow. We combine or back up a pressure point, back up a technique. We'll back up a technique. If a person grabs with both hands, let's turn a little bit this way, with both hands, if I pull my hand back to my hip and strike out to the side at the same time, his hands will come loose. It's very difficult for him to resist two movements at the same time. So if I bring my hand to the side like this, I now have this pressure point, which is just opposite of the one I just shown you. Just opposite, I'm grabbing on that pressure point, right on the side here. So, across and out, grab this pressure point, bring it back to your waist, and the kata movement looks like this, doesn't it? It's right out here. So if the hand comes like this, I'm out. And what's the next motion in the kata? I come back like this for an elbow strike. A lot of people say that an elbow strike like this means that you grab the person's head and you're elbowing him. Shane's taller than me. It would be very difficult for me to reach up to Shane, grab his head, and throw an elbow up here and do any good. Because he's going to be punching and kicking at me. If, however, we're in a grappling situation, and I let my hand come across like this, now I can bring it down here and strike with the palm of my hand on that point that I just shown you, back in the back of the neck, daze them, strike back down, look where his head is now. Now it's possible to use your forearm to catch him on the side of the jaw, the side of the neck, or even turn his head directly into you so you're taking your forearm right into the front of his face. Now that's a striking application, a grappling application for this movement, and a striking application for the elbow. Could it be something else? Sure. Say I got my hands up, and he grabs my hands. Now watch. What have I got here? Same position my hand's in. Hands are up, and you got a wrist lock. Break the wrist, right? Gee, is that the only explanation? No. What is? He grabs. I can do that same elbow again. Only now I'm not doing an elbow, I'm actually doing a fist. I hit that on the hand here and take him out. You can have a seat, thank you. Elbow, down to here. Okay? We go down to here. He grabs. I take that wrist lock out. I bring it all the way down. What's the next movement in the kata? A down block. I'm down blocking his head. There. You sit down. So I down block the head. We'll go into this pressure point real quickly and let you know that when you bend the elbow, if I put the tip of his elbow in the center of my palm and roll my knuckles will be about an inch above his elbow, and at that point there is there are Golgi's tendon pressure receptors.